Greetings from the City of Syracuse, Office of Minority Affairs. My name is Lamont Mitchell. I'm the Director of Minority Affairs. I'm here to share some great information with you, and also have Eric Ennis from SEDCO share some technical assistance to help you complete a SEDCO grant application for your business. Here at the Office of Minority Affairs, I oversee the MWB program and also a few workforce programs that the City of Syracuse have designed to help the diverse population of City of Syracuse work on projects and also do business with the City of Syracuse as an MWBE business. If you're interested in becoming an MWBE business, you can contact me at lmitchell@syrgov.net, lmitchell@syrgov.net. You can also call me by phone at 315-448-8408. Now I'm going to pass it to Eric to share that technical assistance with you on how to complete a SEDCO application. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Lamont. Really appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for your interest in the SEDCO grant program. And I am just going to, really the intention today is that if you're interested in the program, learning how to apply, what the necessary materials are in order to go through this, really just want to walk you through the process and looking to kind of go through the information that you should know up front, what's eligible, what's going to count as an eligible expense so that you can pursue financial assistance. All of this is related to the COVID and ongoing coronavirus pandemic. We created this program in partnership with the City of Syracuse and SEDCO to facilitate additional assistance to small businesses that have been negatively harmed and hindered by the ongoing pandemic. I'm also joined by Indaria Jones, a member of our team as well. You're going to hear from her just a little bit later to talk through frequently asked questions, just some of the things that we've heard from our applicants so far. And hopefully by the time you finish this video, you'll have a great understanding of the program, what's required, and hopefully decide whether or not you're a good fit to apply. So what I'm going to be doing right now is sharing my screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see this in just a second, which will bring you to the SEDCO webpage, which you'll be able to see in terms of how to formally apply and where to get the information. Right now we are on the City of Syracuse webpage, and this is syrgov.net/SEDCO. That's SEDCO_home. And one of the things I should note, most likely you're probably watching this video on YouTube. We're going to be including the link to this information and to this webpage on that YouTube description under the video. If you found this video some other way, hopefully you can find this information on the internet on the SEDCO webpage, which exists in the City of Syracuse website. So right here under this red text, you're going to see the information about the SEDCO COVID-19 small business program. Included in a description here is we have an active hyperlink that's going to bring you to the application, which is a fillable PDF form that you're going to need to complete on behalf of your business. And you'll also need to look at this frequently asked questions form. I want to walk through the frequently asked questions and some of the major things that you should be looking at in terms of eligibility, just to make sure that your business can apply and that you're going to be able to be a good fit for this program. So what you can do, again, I'm on this SEDCO webpage right here. You can click on this blue font, which says click here to view. And we're going to take a look at this informational sheet first, and then we'll move to the application. So right here, this is just a 3-page summary, pretty brief, but what it's going to do is explain to you the purpose of this program. Again, these are intended to be financial grants that are not required to be paid back, but they are designed to assist businesses that have been negatively harmed by the pandemic. You're going to be looking at a description of the program here. And certainly I would encourage you to take a look at this in more detail, but I'm going to walk through it rather quickly just to be short and succinct. But I think it's important to describe who is eligible for this program. So first and foremost, you do have to be a for-profit business within the City of Syracuse and understanding and being within the city boundaries itself. This has been a common question that we had gotten so far through the program. And maximum grant amount. So the maximum amount that small businesses are eligible for this program is for $10,000. And so this is for technically a small business in the city qualifies as having 50 or under employees, which is we're calling full-time equivalents or FTEs. And this would be it has to be a business that was created and operational at the start of the pandemic, which we are listing as the date of March 7th, 2020. So just the beginning of March as the pandemic was really starting to take place and occur here in central New York. And there's one other caveat I want to add related to the eligibility criteria. We've been specifically talking about small businesses so far being available for up to $10,000. We also have an additional subset of this program, whereas if you are a business or neighborhood organization that is specifically intended to help support small businesses, this could be a 501c4, a certain nonprofit 501c organizations. Oftentimes these can be neighborhood business associations. They're directly serving as a business advocacy organization, and they do have a set up official bylaws and organizational structure. Then there is an ability for them to be eligible for up to $25,000 for the SEDCO program. It's important to note that that's intended to then turn around and use those funds for the purposes of supporting small businesses, likely within a certain geographic setting. So those really are the two eligible types of applicants. You've got small businesses that can apply for up to $10,000, and then what we call neighborhood organization or community business organizations that can apply for up to $25,000. And so one of the things is that if you're not sure if you qualify under that after this description and after reading this material, I would encourage you to reach out to us. We're going to be through this video giving our contact information at a few points throughout the video. Encourage you to reach out to us that way, and we can absolutely confirm for you. So moving on here, there are some things to also keep in mind with what items will be eligible for reimbursement or for us to be able to provide funding for your business and to support you. That's going to be under question 3 here under this informational sheet. So what you're looking at here is the following items will qualify for the use of SEDCO grant funds or grant dollars. Outdoor equipment, which would be the installation of things like tents or awnings or patio enclosures. Basically, if you are, especially restaurants and certainly for dining establishments or cafes or eateries, if you were looking to enhance your capacity by doing outdoor seating, I know this was certainly more common in the fall and in the summer, but certainly as we gear up towards 2021, businesses that are looking to increase their capacity have the ability to apply for these types of uses with these funds. And so again, these can be also expenses dating back to March 7th if you are a business that has already made these types of purchases. We also have things like space heaters, but a key component being you have to make sure that they're compliant with the City of Syracuse Fire Department. And so we actually have colleagues there that can help assist you if you're looking to determine if what equipment you're looking to buy is going to be eligible or is going to be a safe and qualifying outdoor space heater. We also have technology systems. This has been an important one for the pandemic as people have looked to do more ordering online. Businesses are looking to upgrade their systems, mobile applications being a key part of it, or even third-party e-commerce services or systems. If you're a business that has either stepped up and had to take on additional expense to utilize these services, or you might be a business that's using them for the first time, some of those expenses will be eligible under the SEDCO grant program to assist you. So that's just going to be something, there's again, a little bit more detail in this document that you're looking at here. Another one would be if you're a business that had additional expenses for maybe what you typically would do for takeout service, packaging, whatever it is that you would do to kind of get your product, especially for food service, kind of out the door and in customers who maybe cannot frequent your business or sit in your business directly due to COVID capacity concerns. This is also something that would be eligible as an expense under the SEDCO program. So something to look into. And then just continuing right down the row here, we also have sanitizing supplies. This could be PPEs, so protective equipment. If you've replaced your lighting systems or your filtration systems, if you've sought to buy air purifiers, these types of things that would basically enhance an indoor space and make it safer for patrons or customers to occupy and use your business, or protect your employees and your customers. We certainly want to make sure that we're communicating here, those are eligible expenses for this program as well. And so you can see everything from hand sanitizer, other sanitization equipments, even services. If you're hiring a cleaning service to come into your business and do some sanitization, all eligible expenses, as well as HVAC upgrades as well. So that's another item that is deemed eligible here. Continuing down, we have 2 more items here, 2 more descriptions. Marketing services. So we know that a lot of businesses have had to take on additional costs to really portray their business or get the word out that they are open, that they are doing, whether it be curbside service or whether it's the fact that they've opened their doors, they're operating safely, but you maybe have had to take on additional marketing expenses. Absolutely something to keep in mind as an eligible expense. I think that we would just want to better understand what those marketing services were and what they were used for, or how your business is currently using them. And then another item here would be any indoor equipment designed to optimize social distancing. So knowing that your capacity maybe has been limited because of the pandemic, looking at additional ways of doing things and items, and whether it be partitions that divide up, maybe these are glass structures or something that divides up the space between people to keep them safe and compliant with social distancing requirements by New York State. And so I think in closing, this really is a brief summary, but this is designing and tells you what the use of funds are intended for. The final thing really is there's a note here about the neighborhood business organizations. Again, a caveat and a certain subset of who's eligible for this program. If there's creative ideas that are designed to support businesses, whether it be a common use space tent, a large tent that certain businesses can use in a certain geographic area, or it could be additional marketing services within a geographic area to support the businesses in that neighborhood, business corridor, or elsewhere in the city of Syracuse. And so there's collectively a number of different ways you can use funding to benefit small businesses, whether it be your business directly, or if you're a part of a neighborhood association or a business association that qualifies under our description. So I'm just going to keep going here, the grant funding and the disbursement process. So a key thing to keep in mind is that SEDCO is working to secure additional funding to provide additional grant dollars to small businesses. We earlier in November, we were successful with funding $150,000 to 23 different businesses. We are in the process of securing additional dollars that we would then plan to support additional businesses. So we have an open application process that we're going to touch on in just a moment, that we would encourage businesses to apply if they're interested in seeking financial assistance for this program. And so that a key part of this is that all of this is going through SEDCO, which is an organization that supports small businesses directly affiliated and staffed by the city of Syracuse and the Department of Neighborhood and Business Development. Our intention here is to be able to review applications in a timely manner, understand all the items that need to come with it, just to get a sense of your business and how it's been operating, how it's been harmed by the pandemic. And then we would hopefully be able to turn around, review any documentation, proof of expenses, things of that nature, so that we can then provide a payment directly to your business in the form of a check, pending approval from the SEDCO Board of Directors and a finalized amount. So that is just one thing, is that we will actually have the ability to mostly reimburse for previous expenses. Even if it's something that you haven't purchased yet, the goal here is to have businesses make purchases, and then SEDCO will turn around in a timely manner, be able to provide you with a check for whatever the expenses were that have been approved, deemed eligible, and have been voted on by the SEDCO Board of Directors to fund your business. So moving on, how can businesses apply? Well, this is one key thing to note. We do have the link on the SEDCO homepage. You'll see that the application window opened up officially in the month of November. That application window is still very much open. So we are accepting new applications. We're encouraging people to apply and do so in a timely manner, because of the fact that this has been a very popular program. We've gotten a lot of interest from it. We want to make sure that people are being able to get us all the documentation and information that is required so that we can proceed with our reviews, which will continue through the month of January. And so looking into where do you support the additional documentation? A lot of this is going to be used by the email address business@syrgov.net. You can see it there and right here in this document. That is kind of our number one way of being able to catch all these applications, look at them electronically. We know that some folks may want to desire to send them in physically, and so you can mail in an application if you'd like. And that can be done at this address here, which is item B under question 6. You'll be able to send them to this specific address. Our staff will be able to take a look and review those. We'll contact you and get in touch if there's anything missing or anything that we need. and we'll be able to proceed from there. So again, email being kind of the number one way of submitting an application, and then by mail if necessary using the address listed in this document. So then a question that's, I think is going to speak to a little bit of what's the criteria, what are we looking for when we're looking to fund and support businesses through grants? This is going to be, looking at applications and how they're using the funds. Does this really intend and get to the bottom of addressing issues with the pandemic? Or, has your business model needed to change because of the pandemic and how you've been impacted by that? We're really looking to kind of be as strategic as possible, supporting businesses, keeping them afloat, especially in the midst of so much uncertainty. And with winter coming in a very short amount of time, we want to make sure that we're continually supporting businesses as they address these kind of things and as they continue to navigate the pandemic as things continue. So we're looking for the use of these dollars and what you're requesting the funds for, whether it be reimbursed or whether it's an expense that you're taking on soon. We also want to make sure that your business has been operating with the safety protocols for New York State. And so under what's known from the governor's office as New York Forward, the ability to take a look at those requirements, certifying your business or affirming your business is operating safely under the reopening requirements that were happening in the summer. We want to make sure that you've already signed off on all those affirmations. Our office can help you with that if you have any questions on that. And then finally, we also want to look at just the financial viability. We want to take a look at your operating expenses. How big of a hit have you taken through the pandemic, and how have you had to adjust and pivot? And there's a couple key questions in the application that we'll get to some of that. But that's really the criteria of what we're looking for. I mean, the intention of this is by deploying these dollars, helping keep businesses afloat, support businesses that have been hurt the most through the pandemic, and ones that are really trying to stay open, keep people employed, keep people hired, and continuing to support the Syracuse economy. All right, and then kind of closing out this document here, how will grant requests be reviewed? So I touched on this earlier that the SEDCO Board of Directors is ultimately reviewing these, making funding decisions based on reviewing the materials that have been submitted. And then myself and our team are directly working with the board to make sure that they have all the information that they need to make an informed decision. At this point, we have initially made some of the funding commitments that we talked about earlier with the $150,000 that we've allocated. We are working to additionally allocate further another round of grants. We're aiming for the month of January 2021 to be able to do that. So some of this information was specifically referring to that initial round in question 8. Again, the commitment here is that our plan is to have additional dollars that we're going to be able to allocate to small businesses in the form of grants next month. And then just finally, no cost to apply for this program. Just an important thing to note, it is a grant. The dollars that are awarded are not expected to be paid back because of reasons following the pandemic. And then finally, we're talking about the application here, which I'm going to look at that document in just a minute so you have a chance to walk through it. But very quickly, there are some additional business documents and finance documents that we are going to need to see in addition to the physical PDF application that people have been filling out and submitting. The first one is going to be for small businesses, your 2019 federal taxes. So if whether it be a business, if you've filed taxes for the business, or if you're an individual that owns a business and you filed them under your taxes, we're going to need to see a copy of those 2019 financial tax returns so that we can take a look at that. And big thing I do want to note is that all this information remains confidential. It's proprietary. It's something that we take very seriously to operate safely. So all this information we house, but it's not being shared outside of the city of Syracuse within our staff, our team, and then the SEDCO Board of Directors that are making these funding decisions. So in addition to the tax returns I mentioned, also an interim profit and loss statement and a balance sheet, which would really ideally be through the fall, through September 30th, if possible. We understand that, businesses are tracking their financials throughout the year differently, 2020 making that even more difficult, of course. And so what we would basically say is we have some flexibility here, but if there's any reporting that you have or that your accountant has that you can show us how your business has been operating over the last, say, 10 months of the pandemic, what has your income versus your losses been? What is that profit versus expense? that you've seen. If you have something that can verify that, whether it be a third-party report, maybe through a QuickBooks or some type of accounting software, or if you need to even write this out. We've had some applicants that have actually written out some of the financial losses and just some of the numbers that they've seen throughout the year. That information is very helpful for us just to assess the level of loss and just really what the financial situation for your particular business might be. And then really quickly for neighborhood organizations, I've touched on this already. That organization, if they have a 2019 990 form, whether it be a neighborhood business organization, whatever your tax reporting documents are, we need to see a copy of those for 2019. And then if you do have an annual report or something that's going to be showing us just based on mission statement, what the organization does, how you've operated and supported businesses in the past. Just something that is able to show us more about your organization so we have a good understanding of the request. So I think with that being said, we really want to continue on with this portion of the tutorial by talking more about the SEDCO application itself. So I'm going to return back to the SEDCO website here. All right, so again, the document that I was just touching on was the informational sheet and the FAQ, frequently asked questions. I'm going to cover the application now, which is such a critical part of this request, of course. So by clicking the link that I just did, this is going to bring you to a fillable PDF document. This means that you should be able to type right into this file. So I'm not going to walk through the whole thing just to be brief on time, but let's just say you have a business called ABC LLC. So you have a business here, you're applying for SEDCO funds. We're going to ask for some pretty standard, typical application information about your business. What year were you founded? What is your federal EIN number? And what is who's the primary contact that's applying for this funding? We're going to ask for contact information for you. We're going to ask for the total amount of funding that you're requesting. In parentheses here, we're asking for what is the amount that you're seeking. We've had a lot of businesses that have not applied for the full 10,000 that have been really genuine, honest. That here's the key things that they're asking for funding for. So we'll ask you kind of what is the amount that you're seeking from SEDCO. Again, 10,000 being the max for an individual business, 25,000 being the max if you're a part of or if this is a business organization or business association within the city of Syracuse. So then which best describes your business? Corporation, that does include LLCs, a partnership, a sole proprietorship, or a not-for-profit. And that not-for-profit, I should mention, again, has to refer back to the business organization or the neighborhood business organization. If you are a standard 501c3 nonprofit organization that's doing a community good or a community benefit, unfortunately, you're not going to be eligible for the SEDCO program intended for small businesses and for for-profit entities. Moving down here, so which industry classification best describes your business? You can check as many of these as you would like. Well, actually, I take that back. Check no more than 2 as I look at the application here myself. So check no more than 2. We're going to ask you to really just make sure you've hit these. It just helps us understand, what type of business are you and what are you applying for? Moving down here next. So employment and operations, just getting a sense really before the pandemic or maybe just as the pandemic was hitting, just compared to now, what was your organization operating and are they currently open? That just really helps us get a sense of is your business right now open, viable, it's operating during the pandemic, and was it operating on March 7th? Just again, back to the fact that for businesses applying here, we want to make sure that they were operational and that there is finances and financials that they can show when the pandemic was first beginning on or around March 7th of 2020. And if yes, for what period of time, how long have you been in operation for? So you can just put a number of years here or months, whatever is appropriate. And then what is your total number of FTEs? That is full-time equivalents, which I mentioned. And that would be your number of employees that you have. And that was as of March. And then at the time of this application. So whatever those employment numbers and job numbers are, just be sure to give us an accurate estimate there. Okay, continuing on. to the next page. So this is an important aspect. This is the kind of total budget that we'd like to be able to see, just to understand what it is you're asking for. So let's just say theoretically you're asking for a grant request of $5,000. Say $2,500 of that is going to be related to upgrades to your website system. So the way you would approach this is, first and foremost, your amount. And I want to note that your amount total should add up to whatever it is the total request that you're asking for. So as I mentioned, the intention here is that we're going to apply for $5,000 from SEDCO. Let's just say $2,500 is coming in the form of a new website. So let's just say my expense item, which is website upgrades. Let's just say my vendor name is Websites Are Us. And let's just purpose. Well, I think the purpose here is speaks for itself here, but website updates. So again, we're trying to get as much information as we can. There's a variety of different expenses and different things people are looking to use dollars for. And then also, let's just say I want to use the other $2,500 for, let's just say, takeout supplies. All right, so maybe I'm a restaurant or a food service operator that's seen additional expenses due to the pandemic with my takeout or curbside operation. Maybe your vendor is Supplies LLC, and then the purpose is I'm going to write additional takeout. So really, we're just trying to get as much information as we can from the budget. And again, I'm just really making sure that your totals add up to whatever it is the funding request is that you're asking for, making sure that these numbers are about as accurate as possible. A big element here is that you don't have to have down to the exact dollar or the exact cent of what it is you're looking to use the funds for. We're asking for a ballpark amount because we realize it's just hard to gauge some of these things, especially if you haven't made the purchase yet. However, we are going to be asking you for receipts and for that documentation when you go to seek reimbursement from SEDCO. So just having a ballpark estimate here would be helpful. When you're filling out the expense items, please make sure that all of the items you're asking for are eligible expenses. I already had shown you the eligible document or the informational document that shows you what's eligible and what items can count. Refer back to that just to make sure that you're asking for items that SEDCO does have the ability to fund you for. And then once you're complete with this, you've got the total number here. Just make sure that that number is the same that you filled out on page 1, which I'll go back to very quickly here, right here, which I'm circling with my mouse. So amount of grant being requested. So just make sure those numbers are consistent so that there's no confusion on what it is that your business is asking for. So next in the application, we do have some funding requests. And so you'll see here, there's a question of please explain how you will prioritize these items. So in that kind of narrative section, you can fill this in with the fillable PDF. Just tell us which one of these or which ones are the most important, the ones that you're seeking for first and foremost. So in here, I would just write website is the priority or something like that, and just write a couple sentences that explain, what's the most important things that you're asking for if SEDCO is not able to fund you entirely for the amount that you're asking for. Next here is a question about the impacts and the grant justification. Just describe really briefly what impact the pandemic has had on your business, possibly on your employees. How have you really worked to adapt and deal with the issues going on from the pandemic? We know businesses across the city of Syracuse have been hindered and harmed, and we just want to get an understanding and a glimpse into kind of what that situation has been like for you over the last 10 months. And then describing the efforts, this next question here, describe the efforts made by the business or your organization to really keep people employed or continue to operate during the emergency declaration. And whether it be retaining jobs, whether it be changing your business model, I've touched on some of this, but give us a little bit more of a glimpse into that. What are there any additional changes that you're going to be making to your business that this grant or grant funding might be a part of? All right, so continuing on here, and then moving on to this next question. City of Syracuse is working with companies to address, really provide resources most impacted by the pandemic. How will whatever you're asking for, how will it immediately benefit your organization or your company, your workforce? Will you be able to see an uptick in dollars that you're bringing in and revive some of those profits? Are you looking to simply survive at this point and just continue to make ends meet, but do so in a way that should hopefully keep you operating after the pandemic? So just be able to answer some of those things. And it does ask about short-term versus long-term. Maybe some of the expense items are going to help you in the immediate term. Some may help you in the long term. So just think about that question as you're filling out the application here. And then this last question is specifically related to neighborhood business organizations. So if you're an individual business, this question may not directly apply to you, and you're welcome to just hit not applicable or NA. But if you are a business organization, we really want to understand, how are you going to be, what services, what purchases are you making to support small businesses within your geographic area or your footprint? Again, on this application, it's going to make reference to what it is that you need to submit in addition to this PDF. So in addition to this file, you'll make the note of the 2019 taxes, the interim financials, whether it's be a profit and loss and a balance sheet, something that just shows us what the financial situation has been for your business during the year 2020. So best way I can put it is 2019 taxes and then 2020 interim operating financials. So the rest of the application here is going to be disclosures, things to keep in mind that you're going to want to read through this as an applicant, really related to seeking funding from SEDCO. We're looking for every applicant to initial. So whoever's applying on behalf of the business should be writing their initials into each one of these, stating that they affirm, that they understand, and that they agree to these terms. A couple big ones just to make note of is that if you own a property within the city of Syracuse, we are asking all of our applicants to be tax current on the properties. And so that's something that we're going to be taking a look at. I mentioned that the affirmation operating safely under New York Forward, and that you're able to your business, you've affirmed that your business is operating safely and doing so under state guidance. And all of these items are things that you should read, just carefully look at when you're signing the application and when you're submitting this. So all of this will be extremely helpful. And then if you scroll down to kind of the last page here, this is just going to be your signature, formally applying, making note of the business, you representing the business, whatever your title is. And then we do have the signature page here, and then we do have a notary section. So we do want to make sure that we've got the application. Hopefully you've been able to seek a notary. One question too I should make note of is that if you do need access to a notary, we do have a notary on staff with the city of Syracuse, so you can contact us if you need that individual to help you. We do have the ability to meet safely on site within our office if necessary, but we want to make sure that we make the right accommodation. So if you don't have access to a notary, that certainly is something that we want to make sure that doesn't exclude you from applying. So in short, that kind of runs through the entire application itself. And then I already showed you that informational document. Those are the two most key things to keep in mind when you're applying. We'll need a completed copy of this PDF, but then we're also going to need those supporting materials explaining to us your business, looking at the tax returns, and looking at your financials. So with that being said, I hope that this has given a little bit more background. It's been helpful. And then what we're going to do now is just my colleague and I and Daria Jones, we're going to kind of talk through some frequently asked questions that people maybe have had as they've been applying through this process. Hopefully, if you stick around, we'll be able to answer some of those questions in case you have any leftover items. And then really quick before we do that, I want to mention that email address again. If you are looking to get in touch with our office, if we hadn't answered a question that you maybe have had, you can get in touch with us at business@syrgov, that's SYRGOV.net. So, and Daria, I'm sure you're still with us here. Do you want to jump into some questions?
Yes, thanks for that was a really good explanation of the program and just overview of the FAQs. I have been working with a lot of minority-owned business as far as like getting the word out for the grant, and a lot has expressed concern, or may need just a little bit more encouragement when it comes to the application. So the main questions I kind of got with the first round is, does it matter if it's a DBA or LLC?
So it doesn't matter if it's a DBA or LLC. We do want to make sure that it is a certified organization. So we need to just see that they've had the proper structure to create the organization. Whether it is an LLC, a limited liability corporation, if they have the DBA, that's certainly a helpful document to have. But really what we're looking for is to make sure that they have been financially operating. We have proof of those financials, and whether that be through their personal taxes or whether it be through their existing business tax returns that they've been filing. Having a DBA is one acceptable way of doing it, but we want to make sure that it is a formal business with some type of, whether it be a C Corp or an S Corp, some type of corporation that has been in that can submit its taxes and tax filings. So if there's additional questions on that, we can certainly talk individually with any applicants that want to make sure they qualify.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really good. So then rolling right into just making sure it's a legitimate business and they qualify. So if they were got their DBA or their LLC before March 7th, the things that will qualify them as an operating business would be like their previous tax returns or their other statements. And so you just want to make sure they just didn't, have a DBA laying around March 7th or LLC and then they're applying. So you want to make sure what you're saying, this is an operating business before that date.
That's exactly right. So when I mentioned I go back to the financials, we need to be able to see that over the course of 2020, prior to the pandemic and then even after, that there was transactions taking place. They were either, they were operating with, and this is where the profit and loss or that balance statement is really going to be helpful to show that they were taking in income. Whether or not they were making a profit remains to be seen. They were taking in income or for a product that they have, and that they had some type of operating financials. They had to pay staff, they had to pay rent, they were paying for cost of goods sold. So basically, we want to be able to see what those expense items are and the revenue is, so to show that, hey, this clearly was a business that was operating, and it was operating prior to March 7th of 2020.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So thank you. And as far as the profit and loss statement, what are some good platforms or programs for a business who might not have one and they have to go back and enter in all these receipts or the stuff that they paid for that they probably haven't been keeping track of?
That's a good question. So we've seen some things that, some businesses have the ability to have an account on staff or on retainer, or it's somebody that's a third party that they work with. Realizing maybe not every business owner has that ability. So other services, I mentioned QuickBooks during my tutorial.
Oh yeah.
A service like Clover, or if you're familiar with Square, there's a number of different technology platforms that have the ability for you to track your financials individually, maybe as a business owner or with your financial officer. But at the same time, if you also have an accountant on staff that's helping you run those financials, either way, if we have some type of third-party verification, that's best for the sake of this program. But as I mentioned, we've had some business owners that have said, the pandemic has just been so tough. I've literally just been kind of trying to keep track of my financials myself. We understand that. We know that it's challenging. So we would just ask you, even if you need to write out or give us your own report on kind of what those financials have looked like for you, that also would be deemed acceptable.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a good idea. And I love QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks myself, and it's easy. You can scan your receipts in and everything like that. Now, how about for business owners who didn't file for their 2019 taxes yet?
Yeah, so I know the time for the extension had come and gone for most businesses. If for some reason you don't have 2019 taxes completed yet, we would be willing to take a look at 2018 and take a look at your 2018 returns. What I would ask is that if you don't have your 2019 financials done, give us an explanation as to why that is, and are you working on that with your accountant? Are you in the process of filing? And just there maybe are some extenuating circumstances that have held you off from doing that. We just want to understand, obviously, making sure all the businesses applying are compliant with the federal government, that they filed their tax returns. It's the most accurate because that was the most recent filings. We haven't closed out 2020 yet. But if there's a valid reason why you haven't done your 2019, we'll just need to understand that in order to review 2018 or consider previous financials, if that makes sense.
No, that's a really good idea. That does make sense. Just making sure everything complies with the federal, with the feds. Right. Okay. And so yeah, I think that kind of basically wrapped up a lot of questions that I was getting. A lot of people was looking, and they'll take a look at the application. They were saying, well, is this only for restaurants? And then I'm like, no, but I think you did a great job at explaining like the qualifying purchases and whether that's for like PPE or indoor social distancing or not. And speaking of indoor, is this grant only for people who have a physical location? What if they're operating outside their home, or, what if they don't have a physical location?
It's a great point. So a couple things. This application program is not exclusively just for restaurants. It's not just for storefronts. And I think that that's a really important point to make. If you are a business that maybe doesn't have a physical location, it doesn't exclude you from the program. I think that we just want to understand what are the biggest financial constraints, or what's the biggest financial loss that you've experienced as a part of the pandemic. I think a key component, though, is there has to be a tie-in within the city of Syracuse and within the city boundary. So, perhaps you're running and operating your business. We need to make sure that that business is certified or is based on the tax returns. The financials are showing that there's a key connection or registered within the city of Syracuse proper to a certain address. And just the easiest way to do that at times is if you have a storefront or you have a business location that it fits within the city itself. However, again, if we can make a connection to the city of Syracuse and there's clearly a connection to the city itself, then that by all means will make you eligible. A key thing to mention too is that if you're outside of the city of Syracuse, Onondaga County and their Office of Economic Development have programs as well. So I would just encourage you, please take a look at their information. If you are outside of the city as you're taking a look at this and you realize you're not eligible, if you made it that far in this tutorial, but that is another great resource for their colleagues at the county.
Yeah, that is a great resource as well for people outside the city. So I think this was a really good takeaway and a really good tutorial that you guys put on to help minority-owned businesses, navigate through this program. And from what I'm hearing, basically the business has to be operating before March 7th. They do need a tax return or a description of what's going on with that. And then as far as the qualifying purchases, those are reimbursement based, right?
Yeah, really what we're doing here is that we want to be able to show through receipts of the information that after a business has already been informed that they were approved or that they're getting a grant award. We'll work with the businesses to get proof of receipts, proof of payment, invoices, something that shows us what that documentation is. And then our staff, our team, you and I will basically work with businesses to make sure that they get the payment for eligible items that they've been approved for by the SEDCO board. So, I think that those are steps that we'll talk about once awardees have been funded. But in the meantime, just knowing that we're looking to turn around those funding decisions and hopefully have dollars to award them in a timely manner. But the biggest thing is we do want to be able to have proof that these expenses have been made based on whatever the application was for how those funds were being sought after.
Oh, great. I didn't even know that. I thought thought it was like a reimbursement. So I thought that the businesses who applied had to apply for things that they've already purchased. So they can actually apply for things they need. It just have to be purchased before, the application closing and all of that and the receipts.
Yep, that's correct. The
Okay.
biggest thing is that it doesn't have to be expenses they've already made. It can be ones for
Oh, good.
expenses coming up, but they do just have to be related to the pandemic itself, and they have to meet that eligible criteria. But
we'll be sure to highlight that too.
great. Well, thanks for the Q&A, because this is extremely helpful. And I hope that everyone watching this video, they were able to benefit from it. If you have additional questions, both from Indaria and our team, we're available. I mentioned that email address. It's on the application. It's on the informational sheet. It's at business@syrgov.net. That's business@syrgov.net. But we thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for your interest in the SEDCO COVID-19 grant program. And certainly we hope that you find this information helpful as you hopefully seek financial assistance from us. So thank you again, and we're available if you have any further or additional questions.
Thank you, Eric. Bye, everyone.